Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what is it that really drives you? What's the difference between a day where you hit the snooze button 5 times and a day where you just leap out of bed? Well, it's not random. There's a hidden blueprint, a kind of architecture of motivation that shapes pretty much every single move you make. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at it.
This is the big one, isn't it? It's the why behind, well, everything. Why do we do the things we do? And in this explainer, we're going to dive into 2 really powerful blueprints that help answer that exact question.
Just think about this morning. That choice, hit snooze or get up and go for a run. That's not just a whim. It's the end result of a pretty complex internal system that's always at work. So let's start breaking down the pieces of that system.
All right, so every great building starts with the right materials, right? Before we get into the grand blueprints themselves, we have to look at the 2 basic foundational forces that every single one of us is working with.
Okay, first up, intrinsic motivation. Think of this as the drive that comes from the inside out. It's that feeling of pure joy you get when you finally crack a tough puzzle or when you get totally lost in a good book. The reward isn't something you're given. The reward is the feeling you get from just doing the thing. And then you've got the other side of the coin. Extrinsic motivation. This is all about responding to the outside world, to demands and rewards. You can think of this like working for a client. You're motivated by the paycheck, or the good grade, or maybe just trying to avoid getting in trouble. Now, these things are definitely powerful motivators, but a little word of caution. If you rely on them too much, they can actually start to crowd out that pure intrinsic joy of the task itself. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at the source. One is totally internal, coming from you, and the other is external, a pull from the outside. And the reward, a feeling versus a tangible prize. But the real kicker, the one we should all pay attention to, is that last row, longevity. Intrinsic motivation, that internal stuff, tends to be long-lasting. Extrinsic motivation, it can be a great quick fix, but a lot of the time, it's pretty short-lived. So now that we have our 2 core materials, let's look at our first blueprint. This one's a classic, the pyramid. It comes from the psychologist Abraham Maslow, and his whole idea is that our motivations are built up in layers, starting from this wide, stable foundation of our most basic human needs. And here are those layers. See, right there at the bottom, you've got the absolute non-negotiables, physiological needs, like food, water, and sleep. That's your foundation. Once that's solid, you can build the walls of safety. Then comes the need for community, for love and belonging, then the need for recognition and esteem. And only then, at the very, very top, can you really focus on self-actualization, becoming the best version of yourself. Now, life is messy. It's not always a perfect climb up the ladder, but the core idea holds true. You can't really worry about putting on the roof if the foundation is crumbling.
So the big takeaway from this blueprint is super simple. Unmet needs are incredibly powerful motivators. If a need isn't met, it creates this powerful, undeniable drive to fill it. Think about it. If you're starving, you're not daydreaming about getting a promotion, are you? No. You're laser-focused on finding food. It's a bottom-up approach to building a motivated life.
Okay, so if the pyramid is like a fixed structure, let's switch gears to something a lot more dynamic, the formula. This blueprint is less about a static hierarchy and way more about this lightning-fast calculation our brains are constantly making to predict the outcome of our efforts. And you do this all the time, probably 1,000 times a day, without even consciously thinking about it. Whenever you're faced with a choice, your brain just instantly runs this little cost-benefit analysis, weighing the effort against the potential reward to decide if it's, worth it. This is called Vroom's expectancy theory, and it breaks down that calculation into 3 key questions. First, your brain asks, if I try, can I actually do this? If the answer is yes, you move on to question 2. Okay, if I do it well, will I actually get a reward for it? And if that's a yes, you hit the final and maybe most important question, do I even want that reward? If you get a no at any point in that chain, the whole motivational structure just falls apart. So what this blueprint is all about is that perceived link between your effort and the reward you get. We're only really motivated to do something when we can see a clear, believable path from our hard work to a prize that we genuinely value. It all comes down to believing that your work is actually going to pay off in a way that matters to you. Okay, so we've looked at the building blocks and 2 really powerful blueprints for motivation. But now comes the most important part. How do you take all this knowledge and become the architect of your own drive? Here's your toolkit. First, you got to identify your drivers. Are you running on that sustainable internal energy of intrinsic passion, or are you just burning through the quick fuel of an external reward?
Second, check your foundation. Are you trying to build a career on a shaky base of burnout and no sleep? That's when you look to the pyramid. And third, map your path. Is there a clear, believable line from your effort to a reward you actually want? That's when you apply the formula. See, this isn't about waiting around for motivation to just magically appear. It's about designing your drive on purpose.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. Motivation isn't some mysterious force that you either have or you don't. It's a system. It has rules. It has blueprints. And once you understand those blueprints, you have the power to start building a more motivated life for yourself.
So as we wrap this up, just remember this. You've seen the architectural plans that shape so much of human action. You have the tools now. The only question left is, what are you going to build with them?